Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline HEWARD. I am known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. We have an absolutely brilliant show ahead of us. Our show today is called A Woman's Prerogative, and we talk about all sorts of very interesting things. We are a channel of education, mentoring, inspiration, and hope. And today we're bringing you an absolutely brilliant topic. I'm so excited about sharing this topic with you. It is Echoes of the Past. And I've actually put an exclamation mark because Echoes of the Past, I've been doing some research even before I knew what the subject was. And I've been looking at different generations. And I'm the last of the baby boomers. I was born in 1964. And I was chatting to somebody that was 34 who was a millennial. And I was looking at why there was some differences in behaviors. And it was fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to talking about Echoes of the Past. We have an amazing panel of ladies from all around the world, and I'm so delighted to bring in our first panelist, which is Dr. Madalenecarolchan, all the way from London. Woohoo!
Hello, Caroline. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really excited today because you're hosting it. It's wonderful. I mean, wow, I just love it. You know, I'm a fan of yours, big time. So.
Thank you. And it's always lovely to be put in this position of hosting it, because then I don't know where it's going to go. I don't have any script. And I don't have any script with any of the shows, but it's always interesting to know where it's going to go because I have no idea. And without further ado, I want to bring in our wonderful panelist and the lovely MARISKA all the way from New Zealand. Dun, dun, dun. A warm welcome, MARISKA.
Hello, and it is so nice to be with you both in the UK today. So always good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we have a very interesting topic ahead of us, ladies. Echoes of the Past. At A Woman's Prerogative, we share hope, inspiration, and education, and actually how we do things, and an insight to what others can do and how they can learn from us. But before we get into our topic, I would love our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and who you help, and more importantly, how people can contact you. Madeleine, do you want to go first?
I will do. Thank you, Caroline. Well, my name is Dr. Madalenecarolchan, and basically what I do is I'm like a doctor of the arts. For example, with singing, with entertaining, with connecting to that inner heart genius. Nowadays in this life, it's really important for you to focus on what you want to do in your life. And through my knowledge and through my lessons in this life, I've now evolved to where I'm at a place where I'm able to connect you to your creative heart, to the genius within you. If you always wonder there's something more to life, there's something more that you should be doing in this life, that's what I will do. I will connect you to your divine feminine energy, because it's the divine feminine energy that is the nurturer of creativity. So that's what I would do. I will connect you to love, to the divine love. That's what I do. So yeah, please contact me on LinkedIn, Dr. Madalene Chan. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Madalene.
And I was going to say, sorry, Caroline, I forgot. And also, I'm a novelist, and I wrote a children's fantasy book about how we need to help the earth. And it's an exciting adventure of all these cosmic beings and coming from different planets that come and help several awakened human beings on planet Earth. So yes, that's me.
Thank you, Madalene. Wonderful. So let's go over to the wonderful Mariska Dupree and find out what she does and how she helps people. And please remember to share your details with our viewers, our new viewers, and also our returning visitors.
Thank you, Caroline. So the place where I would start is the who I help, and that is leaders. Now, whether you are a new leader stepping into leadership or whether you are an existing leader stepping up within your leadership journey, leadership development is where I help out. I'm really passionate about this specific field because as an engineer myself, I have found that there's been some times when going to lead people can be tricky, and there is not only skills that we need to learn as we step into the leadership space, but it's also about being different. I had somebody share with me a very interesting equation the other day, and it said doing multiplied by being equals where we are going to end up. So if we take our doing and we do 100% all the things that we're supposed to be doing, and we take our being and maybe we're only doing about 40% what we are in the way that we show up as a leader instead of a specialist, we literally get to a total of 40% in that leadership space. So it's a good equation to give us a little bit of a gauge as to how well we are tracking. And for most of us, especially when we step into the leadership space, it is about the being that leader that everybody will want to work with and be part of their team. So that's what I do. And the way that you can get hold of me is via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com. Or alternatively, you can also connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start our conversation. And of course, Caroline, before we start our very interesting conversation today, what is it that you do? Because you haven't shared yet.
Thank you, Mariska. No, I haven't, have I? So I'm known as Caroline HEWARD, the Harley Street Stress Expert. How I help people is I literally help them bust their stress. How do I do that? I work with root cause therapy, and I use chakra psychology to identify the root cause of the person's trauma or symptom. And some people say, I'm not stressed, and yet they're walking around saying that they're not sleeping, they've got a permanent headache or migraines, or they've got a physical ache and pain in their body, or they might be saying, I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or they're thinking about future things, not knowing what to do and getting anxious about, or it might be that they have a relationship issue, or they might have recently lost someone very dear to them and struggling with a bereavement issue. So it's whatever you're complaining about. If you're that person that's saying, I'm not stressed, and a little bit of stress is really good, and I can handle it because everybody has a bit of stress and it's good for you, it's those people that are suffering and not aware of it that can actually cause more damage. And I help you identify the root cause so you literally move from head to heart and you move into a space of feeling more peaceful and obliterating the pain, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or behavioral. I've been doing this work now for 23 years and solved my own depression and my own anxiety when I was in my relationships that didn't work. And what I want to share with you is that this is a time of much stress and anxiety for many people in many different ways. People can have the finances all stacked up, and so they've got everything ready, but then they have intimacy or relationship issues, so it's not a good time to be in the family. Some people will have financial issues. Some people will find it difficult to be in their families. And so Christmas time tends to be a really busy time for me because people are struggling to be in their family environments. And I offer a free consultation on either telephone, over mobile if you are feeling very shy about the camera, or Zoom or Skype. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk to book in your consultation. And you can call me on +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress. I offer a 30-minute consultation. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I look forward to helping you bust your stress. So, ladies, let's get on with this incredible topic. And I wanted to share that when I started, and I didn't even know what the subject was that we were going to talk about today, and I was actually in a lot of conversation with somebody that I was hoping to see, that his age was much, much younger than me. He was 34. And there were some differences. He was texting a lot, and it was very much, sort of type chatting. And I thought, well, why is that? Why is, I'd much prefer a phone call, and what's going on there? And I did a bit of research and found out that age, he was a millennial. And I'm a baby boomer. And so baby boomers like the phones, and millennials, they don't like phones. They actually prefer to text and type chat. And I found that fascinating because, and also and just in this last few days, I've seen echoes of the past with the red telephone boxes. People in London, we're synonymous and we're known for our big, huge red telephone boxes. And it's very hard to find them now. So I've got a bit nostalgic even before this show. So ladies, tell me what your thoughts are about, what generation you are. Because I'm a baby boomer and very proud of it, but sort of it has had its technological challenges for me, and I find it fascinating that different generations have different aspects of their personality that come out because of their age and what they've been associated with in terms of what they're growing up with. So what are your thoughts on that, Mariska?
Thank you for the question, Caroline. And as you were talking, I was sort of going, this is very interesting. And I love the perspective that you are bringing from the baby boomer era. Thank you very much. That is also the era that my parents grew up in. And I, myself, on the, I don't know whether it's older millennial or starting off millennial sort of space. As far as I know, I haven't done all the research in it as much as you did to go and have a look. And I also appreciate the fact that as you were telling the story, it reminded me of something that my brother did that I could never quite understand. So he's a couple of years younger than me, and he absolutely does not like phones. So if ever we were to have a phone conversation, we will get down to the point immediately, have a conversation of around about maybe 3 sentences, and then that would be the end. So no long phone conversations with him. And he's sort of similar on text. So other than pinning him down in person, it's really difficult to get him to talk on any sort of technology. I'm not sure whether that's a personality thing or age thing. So I will definitely need to look into that a little bit more.
How old is he, Mariska?
He is now 38, I think.
Right. That's a millennial.
There.
The millennial is up to 41.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, so he's still within the range that I'm in, but we do things a little bit different. So I don't know whether there's even within each section a different sort of range.
Well, he'll be an older millennial, and so that would make a difference, very much so. So what are your thoughts about, what age bracket do you come in? Because you're definitely not a baby boomer.
I think I'm on the cusp, actually, Caroline. I'm definitely older than Mariska, for sure. I think I believe that after the baby boomers, there was what you call the indigos. And the indigos were the ones that were really, a lot of them are connected with being empathic, very highly sensitive, given a lot of karmic lessons, big time. And the millennials, I didn't know about that. I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that, Caroline. I do, however, know about the crystal children, the digital children, which are from up to the way they're born now, up to about 3, 4, 5 years old. They're the crystal children. We've got the rainbow children. The rainbow children are after the indigos. So it's baby boomer, indigo, rainbow, and the rainbow children are what, well, the ones that are younger than the millennials. And what they are is they're like a tribe. They cannot consort or convert to the way the world is. They're finding they're finding it very difficult to conform to a 3D society. They have to rebel. And the rainbow, so the rainbow, and then the crystal children are the digital kids, the kids that just know computers and the digital age and the AI. It's like they're little babies. I've got my nephews and nieces, and they're like this. And I said to my sister, I said, he's 1 year old. Yes, but he knows how to use it. What? Where's they getting that from? Obviously, maybe from another life. They were already on another planet doing that. Who knows? That's going a bit too woo. But yeah, there you go.
It's fascinating, isn't it? I actually remember, sometimes I used to say at the end of my call, sending hugs down the curly wire. Because the telephones were connected to the wall with a curly wire. And so, but now that sentence doesn't mean anything, because if I said I'm sending hugs down the curly wire, it would go, what? Because there's no curly wire anymore. It's not connected to the wall. And that was something that, I remember sitting in the hallway where we had like telephone tables, and there was like there was a seat, and the telephone was on a table and it was attached to the seat. And so if we wanted to make a call, we'd have to make it in turns. And my mum would always be first, and then I would be next. And my brothers, that weren't very talkative on the phone, but they would, if they had to make calls, they would be. And we had to kind of make times. But it was fascinating because we had this hall telephone, and it was cold in our hallway as well. And it was just really kind of, it was a time that we never really thought about that privacy in calls. And if we did, we would queue outside of the red telephone boxes. And on a Friday night and a Saturday night, there were queues quite long with people with pockets full of change to put into the telephone box if they wanted a private conversation with their boyfriend or girlfriend. So what was it like for you making calls at home, Mariska?
I do remember the telephone with the cord. It was actually situated, thank goodness, not in a cold hallway, although I do think my parents, knowing what they now know, might think that would be a good suggestion, because then I would most probably not be on the phone as long as I used to be. So it was situated in the formal living room, or more towards the formal living room. But yes, also conversations typically not as private. So you needed to work around that. I did not have any of the luxuries of going to queue at telephone boxes. We were situated on a farm. So first off, the closest telephone box is quite a distance away. And secondly, I don't think my parents would have allowed me in my early teens to actually go and stand in line so I could speak to said boyfriend at the time on the phone in private. So that all of that was out. One of the things, as you were talking around the telephones, that I also recall is, and I don't know whether you guys still remember this, in the very early days of internet, do you remember the dial-up tones?
Yes.
I was just thinking about that.
Yes.
Literally, I was going to mention that the dial-ups, you couldn't be on the phone and be on the internet at the same time. You had to decide.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I remember that, Mariska, definitely. And the way that, honestly, even with when you're talking about red telephone boxes, I absolutely agree with you, Caroline. Red telephone boxes, your money went so quick. And you were looking for it didn't give you much time. You know, the beeper's going, beep, 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 it's going to go. And you're looking for your loose change. And then it's gone. And then you get somebody tapping on the window. Come on, you've been in there too long. So I have that similar story. And then, of course, a telephone in the living room. You know why our parents did that, don't you, Mariska? So that they could invade in our privacy. So they could know what's going on with our private life. I had the same thing going on, honestly. And they turned the TV up purposely. But when the phone call came in, it was getting quite an interesting point when I'm talking to a guy, a young boy, whatever. I was only young at the time. The TV would be turned down slowly. And then when I looked up, it'd be turned up again like this. I knew exactly what they were doing. There was no privacy whatsoever. You had the luxury, Caroline. I got to say, you have the love on the pearl, whatever.
Well, talking about those times and dial-up, and the fact that we're all sounding like we come from an age where we weren't born into the technology in the way that millennials have been born into technology, sort of in the earlier years, and also, I feel that there's so much more available now on the internet. I mean, I used to use, when I was a child and when I was doing my studying, I would go and look for things in the yellow pages. There was a huge yellow directory for all the trades and all the types of businesses. And it cost, people advertised in there. And we used to use it was about this thick. It was a doorstep for a telephone directory. How did that work for you in New Zealand? Did you have a similar kind of platform in terms of the way that you would find numbers? Mariska?
Well, as I was growing up in South Africa, yes. So we had yellow pages and white pages. And your yellow pages had the business-related stuff in it. And your white pages had the residential type of stuff in it. So you could actually look numbers up and all the rest of it. And I remember that was already old when I used to be young. So it was something that was starting to be phased out, but it took quite a while before it got phased out completely. So I'm aware of it. Didn't use it as often, I think, as you did, Caroline, scrolling through all the numbers. But I do remember it. And I have actually seen in New Zealand, so they have something similar to the yellow pages. It's not as thick and it's more regionalized, which I found quite interesting. But there is a wee little book with all the businesses that you might need and everybody that advertises. So there is still a form of that being used, as not necessarily as much as it used to, seeing as most people these days literally have it on their phones, because we can just type in whatever it is that we are looking for, and then voila, internet solves the problem.
Google. I remember when the word Google came out, and it was like an odd word. It was like sort of, what's that? And then there was this phrase that came, just Google it. And I remember when it came out as just Google it, and I thought, what do you mean just Google it? And I then started to use the term, and now we accept it as common language. There's a lot of changes in our language because of the way that we've moved towards technology. And I must admit, it surprised me when I started to see websites being listed and on TV programs, go to our website for more information. I thought, oh, that'll never stick. They'll never do that. And it did, and then even I was saying, go to my website or go to, email me. That was not a thing. We would write letters. So, Madalene, what are your thoughts on Yellow Pages? Did you do much research there in the phone directory? Because our millennials and our generations now that have been born in the recent decades, they don't do that.
No. Well, in our household, it was very limited, was the phone time. So therefore, I didn't have there was the Yellow Pages, and then there was the directory, the residential directory. But it's not like I could just go down there and go, oh, that's an interesting name, let me ring them up. I wasn't. So I just called my friends to say, hey, I'm coming round at so-and-so, because we didn't have mobile phones at that time. So, yeah. So it was very monitored in the house, because I come from a family of 6. So it was monitored. So I didn't have that for me personally. But when you were talking about Google, I kind of need to know about this, because I kind of was marooned on an island. I know it's, for 16 years. So I only joined real social media for real in May 2020. So I missed out on a lot of things, because where I was, everything was all in-house. All the business was there. I didn't have to go outside the island for work or for online. Online, I didn't even know about, really. So it's quite interesting. I'll have to look it up anyway, but I'm a newbie about this. So I had to learn quite quickly, but it's really strange how when you come back to the UK and then everyone's on this internet, like for their business, it was like a penny dropping. What's going on here? Because I was just on an island in Malta on Gozo, and I was working at a school, just doing things like this and singing, and that's it. Nothing about going on the internet or inviting friends from the internet. It's really strange. It hit me really weird when I first got here. Yeah.
Fascinating. So you didn't kind of have the turn of it. One of the things that really makes me kind of quite feel very nostalgic from my past is that I used to remember going to the record stores, and we had a big record store called HMV, and also Virgin Music and Richard Branson's shops, and you could go and listen. You could go into a booth and listen to your record, and I would go to clubs, and they would always be looking for the club dance tracks, and I would buy a lot of 12 inches because I'd heard them at the clubs, and there was vinyl. And vinyl's actually making an entrance back. There are a lot of conversations and children that want something, you know, sort of that solid and that they can touch, because they're moving almost away from the digital back into vinyl, and it's because it's becoming now rare. All of my records got warped in the loft and then drowned in the garage because it was damp. So my mum threw them all away. I must have lost thousands and thousands of pounds in vinyl records, limited editions. And it was just something that I did. I was a real collector of them because music was my thing. So what about you, Mariska? How was that for you in terms of collecting music? Did you have a good collection of music? Did you go to stores and listen? What's your thoughts about how you interacted with music?
As you're talking, well, my parents had a vinyl collection of their own. And we also had the player, which at some stage, when I was very, very young, I wanted to listen to. I had a story on a vinyl, and I think it was Noddy. Do you guys remember Noddy?
Oh, yes.
So I had Noddy on vinyl. Yes, this is very weird. I had Noddy on vinyl, and I wanted to listen to my Noddy, and I was, I think, 3 or 4 at the time. And unsupervised, so I broke the needle on the player, which my parents then decided to not get replaced because, well, I'm just going to end up breaking it again. So now, sorry, doesn't work. So I didn't listen to vinyl for quite some time, and as I grew up, so while I was in my teens, vinyl at that stage were not a thing anymore. So we had cassette tapes, the smaller ones, and then we had CDs. Now, I know even these days, CDs, people might be like, what? Well, there's still CDs in the shop, so I know most people might know, I hope, what I'm talking about. And I remember going into the store, and Caroline, as you mentioned, having an opportunity to actually listen to all the tracks on the CD and figuring out, okay, is this something that I want to buy? Does it have all the tracks on it that I'm looking for? So in the record store, they will first off have loads and loads of different shelves with CDs on them. And you also flip through them as you would do with vinyls. It's just a little bit different decorated, and spots where you could go and listen to them. So you give it to the person behind the counter, they put it in their little deck thing, and they played it. So that worked well. So as you were talking, I'm thinking, I wonder how that would have worked with a vinyl, and trying to figure that out in my head, because yes, I'm used to the concept, and it was a little bit different. So it's very interesting when we look at things like music or telephone or even the internet, how things changed and evolved. And Madeline, as you were mentioning about being on an island and then coming back into, I won't say it's coming back into civilization, but coming back into a space where they do things a little bit differently, I could imagine that could be quite a shock, because we did it in reverse. So our kids had their phones, they used to playing music on the phones and doing all the rest of the stuff. And we went on holiday where they had absolutely zero internet reception whatsoever. The place where we stayed also did not have a phone. it was literally, there was nothing. We told them, well, you bring books and whatever it is that you want to do with you. There's a big piece of land that you can go and walk on, and that's where we're going to be. We will go into town. You will have a little bit of reception about once a week just to go and get some shopping done. That's it. We were there for 3 weeks. I can tell you this, the first week was hell. Because they didn't know what to do with themselves. It's like, I'm looking on my phone, but it doesn't want to work. I think, well, you can charge it. You can play with whatever is on there that doesn't need the internet. But other than that, sorry, it's sort of useless. And then one of them made friends with some people on the farms in the vicinity. And they had to go through the whole, I need to arrange this up front and make sure that I know exactly the whens and wheres and hows, and get themselves organized in order for us to know when they're going, how long they'll be staying there, how they're going to get back, and all the rest of it. And of course, I mean, you guys might remember from way back when, if something happened at that stage and you were away, well, that's it. Right? There's no phones close by where you can just quickly go, hello, I'm in trouble. So there was a lot more arranging that needed to happen within that space. So that was so fascinating to see the flip side of it, the reverse of it, and how quickly we get basically used to all these technology things that we have around us. So it's a good thing to sometimes just go off grid, I think.
Yeah.
That's an amazing share, Mariska, because I frequently, when I was on the tubes in London and everybody's stuck to their phones and doing games or doing messages on their phones, I sometimes say a bit cheekily, what on earth did we do when we didn't have our phones? How did we cope without our mobiles? You know, because instead of having the newspapers, you know, where they're in their noses in the newspaper, now they're in their phones. And it's a very different way to live. And the fact that Dr. Chan was on an island, you didn't have that experience of being swallowed up in a phone in the way that, you know, you would have been if you were on the internet. So I think that's amazing. You've been saved. You've had like sort of, you've had more of a being in that existence of almost being childlike, being very present, without having the same way.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, I mean, I was in the UK. I went over in 2006 to Malta, so I spent 16 years there. And previous to that, I just kind of, I wasn't really in the internet anyway, at all, not at all. I wasn't computer literate at all. But going back to the vinyl story, I worked at Virgin Record store in Piccadilly. Yeah. So these booths, it was amazing. It was all yellow and red, and they had these, you go into the booths and you put the headphones on, and then you've got the selection of CDs. So your CD's there, and then your compact disc, and then you can just skip tracks. And but the problem is that it played the whole CD rather than excerpts of it. So you'd get kids coming in, spending nearly all day after their school, and you won't get rid of them. And you'd get the serious buyers that wants to come in and listen, but the booths were all taken up. So that was a little bit of a problem. Whether or not it was dealt with later on, I don't know. Maybe. I only stayed there for about a year, just working there. And as far as vinyls, my nephew all of a sudden said, oh, have you heard of this track and this track, and have you heard of this? And I went, that was in the 80s. That was the vinyls. So he bought a vinyl, a record player, and he loves his vinyls. Absolutely. And if you go to like charity stores, you can find amazing gems of your vinyls and everything. So I find it quite interesting in the way we've been talking about the vinyls and how everything's just moved on as well. I mean, don't you think it's so strange when you see a couple that say, oh, we're going out to dinner, darling. Okay. And then they're on their phone. What would you like to eat? Oh, I don't know. What do you think about this? And they're actually having a conversation on the phone instead of actually speaking to each other. They're like this. What? So then the waiter goes, what would you like, madam? Hang on.
When I first got married, we would text each other in the same room. Yeah, so I so get where you're coming from there. Well, ladies, we've had such fun that we're coming to the end of our show. Can you believe it? A woman's prerogative echoes through the past is almost no longer there. So with a quick fire of, let's go round and just tell our viewers what you do and how you help people, and a reminder of how they can contact you. Let's start with Dr. Chan first.
Thank you, Caroline. How I can help you is that I'm a creative being, and what I do, a creative person, where I can sing, I can write, songwrite, I can help you get in connection with your creative genius in the art form. And I also can help you connect to that inner love, that divine love that we all need to connect to someday soon. We all need it to, because we need our balance. So I can help you connect to your divine feminine and your nurturing of your artistic creative heart. That's what I can do. I can help you.
Thank you. And Mariska, how can you help people?
Well, if you are a leader moving into leadership or already in leadership and moving up in your career, transitioning basically, I am here to assist in that transition and help you out with, well, getting yourself into the being of a leader and not only the doing of leadership. So you can get hold of me via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. How about you, Caroline?
Thank you, Mariska.
Yes.
I help people bust their stress. So if you are suffering with stress, physical, emotional, mental pain, I help you break through. I offer a free consultation, either online or over the phone. You can contact me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or call me on +44 if you're international, 0 if you're local, 7523 120 189. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress. Thank you so much, ladies. This has been such fun. We could have gone on and on. There's so many things. We didn't even touch fashion, so maybe we will have an Echoes of the Past part 2 another time. But it's been wonderful. Thank you, ladies. I've really, really enjoyed the show. I'm sure our viewers have. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And now we are grateful, because the way that we work here on USA Global TV is we are grateful to our sponsors. But first, before we go over to our sponsors, I want to say a huge thank you to our wonderful star of the show, who's been working behind the scenes on the technical and producing the show, Dr. Jacalyn, the amazing Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you, ladies. And now over to our sponsors who support this show, A Woman's Prerogative. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
life lessons as well as how to communicate more effectively as a family, go to Amazon and order Lady Ella's books. They're all there just waiting for you.
This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the Tooth Fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com. ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.